beat-em-up, simulated combat game in which the player leathers the stuffing out of people.
Now, beat-em-ups may look like a simple exercise in just knocking the shit out of someone, but actually they're at least 4% more complicated than that. Physically harming your fellow man has been a staple feature of video games since before they could adequately portray the brutal reality of unarmed combat. To an onlooker, an over-the-top, bloodthirsty beat-em-up such as Mortal Kombat here might seem unnecessarily violent. That's because it is.
Johnny Cage wins.
Anyway, after being picked on for years, it was only a matter of time before the games industry started living down to expectations and released a slew of titles that were gleefully offensive.
Theft Auto is a game in which contestants can rise through the underworld by performing jobs for gangster godfathers. Points are awarded for murder, arson and drug running. Yes, the granddaddy of all controversial games is a British creation directly inspired by the pioneering Spectrum game Turbo Esprit. The release of the first GTA game at the height of media hand-wringing over joyriding ensured plenty of coverage and even caught the attention of the Home Office.
Under proposals being considered by the Home Office, a health warning would be flashed up on the screen at the start, reminding players not to drive like this on the roads.
The freedom to do what thou wilt in GTA's virtual environment sent the popularity of a fledgling genre into overdrive.
Sandbox or open world game, a game in which the player is left free to explore a virtual world in non-linear fashion.
Sandbox games are massive modern play sets, basically. Huge environments in which you can do what you like. They started back in the day with the epic space exploration and trading simulation Elite. Elite gave the impression of containing an entire functioning universe, but actually that was an illusion. Computers weren't that powerful back then. Instead, the thousands of planets and solar systems the player could explore were generated by a clever set of algorithms. Modern computers really are powerful enough to contain complete worlds, as in the nihilistic, almost overpoweringly detailed Grand Theft Auto series. GTA's Liberty City is a living city filled with working roads and buildings and bridges and rivers. It has its own transport system and police force. It's got radio and TV stations. It plays host to thousands of independent citizens driving thousands of vehicles, or strutting the pavements, or getting run over, or innocently driving their taxis into the gun sights of a maniac who shoots them rather unfairly in the head, then sits waiting in case there's a passenger who panics and get out. Yeah, hang on, wait a minute. Yeah, there she is. And then he picks her off as well. As you can see, it's a morally blank world in which I'm free to do what I like, and it turns out that what I like to do is be antisocial.
Why'd you call me? You want my...
Now, I don't think I'm likely to confuse this with the actual world because it doesn't stink of foul human flesh. But as far as the rest of the media is concerned, what infuses games with their special satanic menace is the notion that they could be conditioning the player to perform these actions for real. You could argue that by that logic, someone who spent the morning playing cheerful cartoon leap-em-up Super Mario World would spend the afternoon jumping on mushrooms and banging their head against bricks in search of magic coins. But then cheerful cartoon games like the Mario titles rarely get much coverage, especially when there's so much more disturbing stuff out there just waiting to upset news reporters and make horrifying reports like this.
Manhunt 2 is a new video game where the player gets physically involved in the violence.
So your emotions are recreated in the game?
This is correct. You can slaughter them in increasingly brutal manner. As you can see, he's curled up in the fetal position and we're still whacking away.
I mean, that's pretty violent.
That's correct.
Thanks to technological progress, the nasty stuff now looks nastier than ever. It's a long way from beat 'em and eat 'em to modern sex games, such as the seriously creepy Japanese molestation title Rayplay, for instance. It's a similar case with violence. That's evolved too.
Oh, so much for tennis. But now, if you're a bad loser and feel like shooting your opponent, you can always take to rifle practice.
Of course, shooting at dots wouldn't offend or disturb anyone, except maybe a particularly sensitive dot. Whereas modern video game gunplay is routinely portrayed with a frequency and bloodthirsty relish you simply wouldn't get away with in a film or TV show. Something like Call of Duty World at War here is a brilliantly constructed game, but it's also psychotically ferocious and astronomically tasteless. But even though my brain tells me this is horrible, I can't deny that I enjoy it. I just wouldn't really want someone to walk in and catch me enjoying it, which makes it just like loose women, basically. Ooh. Still, even to a psychopath like me, some modern releases are so deliberately unpleasant I find them too depressing to play through. Take the grisly atmospheric Condemned 2, for instance, in which you play an alcoholic ex-cop who has to stagger around this horrifying environment, swigging from bottles and fighting tramps with your bare hands. If you're playing this for escapism, you're probably Scottish. But if I find it hard to stomach, millions of others don't. Here we see grisly action-packed footage from the game Fear 2, uploaded to YouTube by a fan who's provided his own unsettling commentary over the top.
Today, I'm going to dedicate a video to my favorite weapon, and this is Sniper. You can see how the head rips off and the blood everywhere. This is amazing. Die, die, die! Can you smell the burning flesh? I can.
Now, I'm not saying he's mental, but he should probably be forced to cleanse his palate afterwards by playing something like this pleasant neighbourhood simulator on the Wii.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Ooh, see, isn't that lovely? Doesn't exist, mind. Anyway, not everyone likes violent games. This is the downright revolting Mad World on the Wii, and here's singer-songwriter and video games reviewer Rebecca Mays with a musical review of it.
Here at last, a hardcore game on the Wii that's nasty, stylized violence that we call comedy, like itchy and scratchy, like Tom and Jerry. I just stabbed a guy through the eye with a road sign, pulled out his heart with my bare hands. Do I feel alright? No, I feel dirty. There's really something quite unnerving about all the blatant perving and the disturbing commentary. You train way too hard, like a disillusioned nerd who thinks chainsaws and swear words will make you the coolest kid in school. It's far too short and the weapons are far too few, and I have to redo the whole level, so I give you a headbutt with the nunchuck. I feel giddy, visually it gets crazy busy, and my heart feels dizzy in this sadistic comic book. You train way too hard, like a disillusioned nerd who thinks chainsaws and swear words will make you the coolest kid in school.